example, Satish event participant. That is somewhat unstructured data, but Satish organized an event on cybersecurity where there were 69, 68 participants. So that gives you a complete sense of information. And the whole idea of data describe how what kind of data there are and what kind of information there is and how do you categorize what is important to you and what is not important. So there is something called sensitive personal data or sensitive personal information. If you were to categorize that, or if you were to give a definition for a sensitive personal data, how would you think a sensitive personal data is?
Sir, could you please repeat your question?
Of what, according to you, is sensitive personal data? Simple as that.
Sir, our Aadhaar card number or bank details.
Any data that is important for a person, any data which is important for a person which can be misused by any other person for monetary benefit or any other kind of defamatory kind of objectives.
Yeah. More or less, yes. So, as you can also see from the examples that you have given, that this whole thing, this whole sensitive personal data and what it is depends person to person. For me, my Aadhaar card might not be a sensitive personal data or sensitive personal information, but for, let's say, Imran, it could be sensitive personal information. So that is something that is left on the person whose data it is to decide. Now, when we talk about data security, what we have to take care of or what we have to think about is what is sensitive personal information for us or sensitive personal data for us. So for me, it is my date of birth, it is what car I drive, it is whatever happens in my life, it is my banking information, it is my religion, whatsoever. So for me, that's my list. For you, the list can be either even longer or shorter. Totally depends on you. Now, that is to say that this whole thing becomes a subjective thing, and how you move on with that. So I hope data and information is something that is clear to you, and we'll come to misinformation, disinformation, and how to be safe in a while. Okay, so there are two terms that I want you to remember before we move ahead. One is called data fiduciary, and the other one is called data principal. A data fiduciary is someone who handles your data or who collects your data. So, to put it simply, Facebook, Google, these are the platforms or the companies that have your data. They collect your data and they also make sure that your data is protected and safe. A data principal is essentially you as a person whose data is being collected and used. So these are the two terms that I might use going ahead, and you can perhaps take a look at it and understand what goes on. So moving on now, there are privacy and security tools. We have a number of laws that are coming in for data privacy, data security. Uh, we had the fake news bill. We had the Digital Personal Data Protection Act of 2023. We have had multiple other things for content moderation. But the whole issue right now that we are facing and that we are witnessing working in a digital rights organization is the fact that a number of times these legislations are inept to actually handle the needs of the society today. And that's why we have had some problems with the data protection. So, uh, just to understand why your data needs to be protected, we'll go briefly to data breaches and data leaks. Again, beginning with a question, does anyone know the difference between data breaches and data leaks?
Data breach could be said as something which happened or for a motive or purposefully happened, and data leak could be happened without enough security. Uh, Up to my knowledge, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Sir, a major term for differentiation which is generally used in a legal framework is intention. Like whenever there is something unintentionally released or accidentally released, so we can say it is a leak. But when there is some purpose or some intention is associated with it, then we can say it's a breach.
There's some background noise from my side.
No,
No,
sir.
sir, it's perfectly okay. All right. Just making sure. So yeah, but yeah, your definitions are correct. So data breach is someone breaking in and taking out data. Data leak is you not being careful enough, and the basically a data fiduciary who's responsible for collecting your data and keeping it safe. They did not uh, take all the required procedures to keep your data safe, and then someone just took it or they accidentally leaked it. That is a data leak. And when someone breaks into your computer, breaks into your account, and then takes out the data, then it becomes a data breach. Just an example of data breach up until data leak. I mean, up until 2012, Facebook, that almost all of us have used to save user passwords in an Excel sheet without any clue. So if anyone gets access to that Excel sheet, they would get to know your username, your email ID, and your password. So that was a faux pas on their end, because that's a mistake that should not be happening when it comes to handling sensitive personal data, because passwords obviously are sensitive personal data. Data breaches, we have seen multiple examples. I'll show you some of those examples, and I'll also tell you a few more terms, and make you understand a few more concepts that you have to be wary of in order to have a better uh, survey of the technological realm. Now, we've talked about data breaches and data leaks. Now we'll see how your data is collected and how your data breach happens. And if a data breach happens, what happens then? Um, Afnan, I think you have the controls. I'll just share the link through my other device. Can you please allow that if possible? Yeah. So, what you are seeing on your screen is a website called Have I Been Pawned? And with this website, what it is essentially a repository of uh, highly renowned and reported data breaches globally. So, why I say reported data breaches globally, I mean by saying that is not all data breaches are reported. And it might not be that there would be some data breaches that we know of and we would not know about it, but and it won't we would know about it and it won't show up here. So for example, I'll just use my email ID here and check if my account has been in any data breach or leak. So while it loads, I'd ask someone to just give their own email ID, so I can just paste it here if they are comfortable sharing their email IDs. And we can see if there is any data breach. And we can write it in the chat box.
Let's see.
So we have zero data breaches up until now. Anyone with their personal emails from which they have attached any accounts? All right, thank you. All right. So now we're seeing that we have 13 data breaches reported on this particular email ID. So moving down, we will see a list of all the data breaches which are there. So the first one being a combo list posted on Telegram, which had a 2 billion row of data with unique email ID from malicious Telegram channels. So in this particular data breach, your email ID, your password, and your usernames were in public domain, in public knowledge. The second one being Boat, which is an Indian audio and wearables brand, as it says there. So they had been not careful enough, and your email ID, name, phone number, and physical address was out. We have your Rento Mojo government issued out ID, passport number, password, phone number, purchases, social media profile, date of birth, email address, gender, name. India Mart, they have your usual physical address. Twitter, you have your username, social media profiles, etc. So, what you are seeing here is a list of your data for the person whose data this is. So, all of your data is now out in the public domain. And what the process of this is that someone gets a hold of this data and then they go on the dark web and then they start selling that data. That particular step happens multiple times, and after a point, these data reach data brokers. After which, this particular data, which was stolen from you, becomes a legal commodity, and it could be sold and purchased in the real world, and usually for marketing and public analysis. So most of you who are receiving random messages, random emails, all of those things, uh, without sharing your numbers, this is what's happening. This is how your data is getting out. So, and it is also, I mean, if I ask you to, for 2 minutes, think with a criminal mindset, you have someone's name, number, physical address, date of birth, phone numbers, passwords, all of those information. And if you were to harm someone, to what extent can you go? The extent can now be from just defamation to murder because you have access to all such information. And this leads to an increased amount of violence and crime rates. Now, the idea of showing you all of this is to just make you understand how how these things work, how you have your data which is out, and how it can harm you. These things give out the concept, I mean, give rise to the concept of data retention, data minimization, and storage limitation. So basically, what these three things mean is data retention is for how long our data fiduciary is allowed to retain a data. Data um, minimization is that a fiduciary will only collect as much data as it is required for their work, and storage limitation is for how long can they keep that data with themselves. So basic idea is to think of it this way. I'll just give you an example. We've all known of the Arogya Setu app, right? So this was an app which was used during the COVID for a number of information, including high risk zones and about medical information. So what happened with this app was that they had taken your Aadhaar card, your location, your numbers, your medical history, your username, your password, a number of data. The one thing which was there was which they had said that this data is being taken only for the time when Arogya Setu, when COVID is in place, and all of it will be deleted thereon. Later on, we found out that the company which was storing this was sharing this data within several ministries. While it may not be a problem for a lot of people, for people who care about privacy, our data which was meant for one reason had to be used for that reason and had to be deleted then. The government doing it, you can have faith that perhaps the government will not use it in a bad faith. But imagine if the same thing happens on a private entity level, which was the case of Cambridge Analytica back in the USA, where they tried to manipulate whole elections because of data profiling, data management, and how an analysis of a user behavior. So this is essentially how your data goes out and why you need to save your data. Because if honestly I were a criminal and I had these amount of data with me, I would be very successful in being a criminal. Now, having said that, we have seen that there were a number of data breaches reported, and there were a number of them which were missed out, especially from India. What I mean by saying that is, um, a number of those data breaches were not reported. For instance, if the cameras were on, I would ask by the show of hands, how many of you use phone pay? You can raise your hands. Yeah, yeah. So you've been using phone pay. How many of you use Airtel as a service provider? So yeah, a lot of you. Now these two data breaches were never reported, and the companies have denied it. And I'll tell you how much was the data of 250 million people being sold for. It was being sold for 19,000 rupees to me. For 19,000 rupees, I could have had access to all your banking information, all your pins, all your passwords, your transaction history, your locations, whatsoever. Now, if it goes into the wrong hands, it goes into the wrong hand. If it gets caught, it gets caught. The problem with this is, and this is something that I'd want to highlight when I'm speaking about the technology and now I'm speaking about the law, is that the newest law we have is that is the Digital Personal Data Protection Act does not cover the already existing data breaches to be notified. So if the DPDPA has been enacted, it has not been implemented. So if there is a data breach today and the act is enacted tomorrow, the companies are not liable to send you the information that, see, your data has been breached and you need to take requisite steps to make sure that your data, you do not suffer a lot of losses. But that's not the case. And obviously, there are some good things with the law, but there are some drawbacks. And that is why there's a saying in the technology world that the prevention is better than cure never works in this. There is no cure, there is just prevention. If your data is out, it is out. You cannot do anything about it. For the person whose email ID was used, you had 13 breaches. All that data is out. You can perhaps change your phone number. You can perhaps change your email ID, but can you change your physical address? I mean, I do not have the right kind of money to keep buying houses every time there's a data breach. And it is you and only you who's responsible for keeping your data safe. So that's a basic gist of the whole data protection and why your data goes out and what happens if your data goes out. I'll spend the next few minutes explaining the right practices you can use uh, in order to make sure that your data is remains safe and what are the best steps you can. So first one is the very easy one, very commonly known one is to have a very secure password. But that is outdated now. You cannot just have a very secure password, and you cannot keep changing your password every now and then, every 2 months, every 2 weeks. Because first, how will you remember the password if you're changing it so frequently? You have to create a very strong password. How many times will you do that? And it takes time. And for every single account, you have to have a separate password. Okay, on that brings me to the question, how many of you use a single password for more than one account, or how many of you sign in with Google or Facebook to random websites?
Myself.
Yes. So, so just to give you an example, Google, Facebook, all of these websites now have very strong data protection mechanisms. But that might not be the case for the random website we have used for shopping something. Misho might not have them. I'm not trying to defame Misho, they might have that, but just for example. And if you log into Misho using your Gmail account and password by clicking on use Gmail to log into Misho, or use the same password as with the I'll answer the text questions in the chat. So just a second. Yeah. So if you do all of that, while your Gmail account was safe, someone can still attack Misho servers and take out that data. The benefit of doing that for an attacker is that now they can access your Gmail account as well with the password because you use the same password. So that becomes a problem. So now that leads to a bigger problem that for multiple websites that we are using, multiple applications that we are using, we have to have separate passwords, very strong passwords for all of those things. How do we do that? So, Neha, to answer your question, that is the right solution to use password managers. But what kind of password managers? Because there are obviously trusted password managers and ones which do not have good data security. So, for those who do not know, password manager is essentially a vault wherein you have one key, you have one password for that vault. And now that password manager will not only generate your password, but also save your password. So you don't have to remember 20 passwords. You have to just create one very strong password and remember that. That comes with a risk saying, which is that if you forget that one password, you lose all your passwords. But then you have to always choose between there's a balance between comfort and privacy. How much privacy do you want? How much comfort do you want? You have to choose. And that also depends on person to person. So, password managers are one thing, and I think, and this is tried and tested that humans should not care about creating a password if your enemy is a machine who can easily guess your date of birth, your pet's name, or your favorite movie, most of which we use to create our passwords, it will be very easy for a machine to break into your account. So the solution is to let the machine do it, and hence we are using password managers. What kind of password managers is something that I'll come to in just a while. So coming up to the next thing. Now we have seen that the amount of data that goes out and how unsafe we are in the world where we are signing into the website and how much data they are taking. So now if I were to be very careful and I log into all places without using any sign in options, do you think your data still doesn't go out or does it go out? Anyone can speak as well while I share. Anyone?
Sir, could you please repeat?
If you were to if I were to not log in into any accounts, right, for anything, do you think, like, if I'm browsing on Amazon without logging in, so they cannot have my username, they cannot have my password, so what's there to lose? Do you think you are still private? Do you think your data is still safe? That's the question.
Sir, from the view of electronic contracts, we see the example, quick wrap contract, or just by click wrap contract. We visit some website, just by visiting, just by suffering navigating that website, we are
Hmm.
giving our consent. So that can be one example. Like, few website put that conditions. Even when we chat to chat GPT or some other AI algorithm, so they show this disclosure or disclaimer that key, if you are using that, this means that they are using your data.
So
Yeah.
can I
So
speak?
yeah. Please, Aryan, go ahead.
They're still storing our data by cookies. I think they store cookies in our phone when we browse their website or
Mhm.
something.
Yeah, so precisely the point. So even if I am trying my best to not give out my data or not have anything associated with me, at least when I am browsing, then also something goes out. So this is an extension called Lightbeam. This is a Firefox extension. It will just I'll just show you how it works and how even after being
Sir,
rolled
could you
out,
please repeat that word, light beam? Did you mean lightning?
I'll just show you. That's the name, Lightbeam. So yeah, I'll just show you in a second on how this works. Uh, so for instance, if I'm opening NDTV, right, and I'm not logged into any of these news websites, just give me a second. And let's say we have YouTube and Amazon. Let's open, I don't know many other websites. Let's just open something from here. Um, yeah, let's just open any Indian language. Okay. So we have spent under 1 minute over this, and I'll just go back to the this window. And now I click refresh. So this tool essentially maps my web activity. And even though I am not logged into any of these websites, this is my web activity and how this is what has been tracking us. So what you are seeing here, these triangular dots, these are called APIs. So APIs are good and bad as well. Some APIs are merely fonts, and they are just communicating for a better working of the website. But there would be some things which are tracking your data, and it's very difficult for a person to choose between that. So it's just not cookies, it's just not cache data, it's APIs as well. So
Sir, could you please tell us that how to open it if we
I'll
want to
also
see it?
just show you. I'll just show you in a second. One second. So, for instance, we have this Indian Express. I'll show you how to add all of these things. But if I take this Indian Express and I move this a little back, I can see that Indian Express is talking to Google, Google is talking to YouTube, and YouTube is talking to NDTV. So, in a way, through this particular link, Indian Express is also talking to NDTV. What are they gaining from it? How much time I have spent on a news article? What kind of articles do I like to read? Then that assessment goes on to their own servers, and when I open NDTV, I'll get these uh, the particular updates or the particular news at the top, which they have analyzed from tracking me and getting to know my behavior. That's called data profiling, and this is essentially how it works. So now the whole thing is this big. This is how much these things are communicating without me doing anything. I have not even scrolled up until now. So coming to now solutions. I have this website and I have multiple things, multiple APIs, cookies, cache requests. All of these things are tracking my data and they're getting to know what I am doing, which articles am I in, which articles am I interacting with, whatever am I doing. So that comes to the questions of solutions and what are those. So I am this won't get enlarged. The solutions are pasted right here. If you can follow my cursor, these are the three solutions that we use. The first one is Light Beam, which is an extension. You can just go to extensions and themes and search for Light Beam and add it there. The moment you add it, it will start tracking your data. It will start showing everything on what is being tracked. If you understand tech inputs, you can take a look from there. Coming back, now I want this concentric circle, which is so big, to decrease. I don't want my data, not this website, because it's actually just tracking the thing. So even the website that I had used to show if your data has been breached, they also do not track anything. They just keep a list of email IDs that they found in data breaches and the tabs, that is the name, password, these headlines they use. They keep, the rest they don't. So now coming to the solutions, we have two solutions. One is called Privacy Badger. The second one is called uBlock Origin. So uBlock Origin is basically an ad block along with a cache and a cookie blocker. So basically, all the ads that you interact with, all the pushed content that is affecting you to perhaps buy things, the whole mental uh, tailoring that happens, that can be dealt with by uBlock Origin. So as you can see, I have Microsoft servers, this ad here, this particular ad here, and this one here as well. If I switch this on and reload this website, all of those ads are gone. And this also works on YouTube, by the way. So if you want ad-free YouTube, you can do this on your laptop at least. The second one is Privacy Badger. So the moment I enable a privacy badger for this website, you can see that it has worked on these many APIs. And it will also list out what kind of APIs these are. So I don't know what Amazon ad system is doing on this. I don't want my Google to be on this. I don't want Firestore Google APIs on this. All of these things. So it will block harmful APIs for me, and it will limit the interaction the website has. Furthermore, in order to confuse the trackers, it will also bombard the trackers with random information which are not related to me. So the idea is to create to misguide that virtual image that is being created by the websites and by the people that are tracking you. So as far off from reality that image is, the better it. So now if I go back to let me just open this on everything and go back here. I'll reset the data and just refresh these. Now, if I reload this, the from that big concentric circle to this big, and it's not updating every now and then as the previous one was. So this is the effect of having privacy tools on your devices, so your data remains safe as much as possible. There will still be trackers, there will still be things that are tracking you, but the number of those things will be greatly reduced. If we want more security, if we want more things, we can go for very, very intensive privacy practices. But that is something that will you will have to choose privacy over comfort. Now, since I have the last few minutes remaining, I'll address a few things on misinformation and disinformation, and then I'll come to a few concluding remarks and questions. And I'll come to that. I'll just take 5 to 7 minutes for the misinformation, disinformation. So now, why am I speaking on these two entirely different things? Which is one is data security, and then the other one is misinformation and disinformation. It doesn't seem like a perfect match, but the whole idea of speaking for the last few minutes is to understand how whatever you are doing online, whatever you are speaking, is then going to uh, be used to manipulate you or peddle some kind of a news to you, which a news or information to you, which is harmful in nature. So now there are two terms, although the session title, in order to keep it crisp, I had suggested to just keep it misinformation. But there are two terms, misinformation and disinformation. Just like breach and leak, the intent is important here. In misinformation, it's a mistake that there's a content that is being shared without an intent of causing harm. So, for example, drinking hot water cures COVID. If my uncle had shared this, he had shared this. So that intent is not there. He just found a false information and he forwarded it without any ill intent. This information is deliberately created to spread or mislead, to spread to mislead and manipulate and cause harm. So these are the two things you have to keep in mind. Now, so the thing is that now you have to understand the scale of your data. If you are on your Instagram, If you're using your Instagram, if you're talking about something, there's a relevant reel that comes up, there is a relevant ad that comes up, there's the whole practice that comes up, the whole fiasco of control is non-existent these days. So I'll explain misinformation and disinformation through the example of Cambridge Analytica and what happened there. So, if people don't know, this was a scandal in the USA during the previous Trump uh, website name. Yeah, I'll do that. Uh, so, this was a scam during the previous Trump election where he had reached out to Facebook and Cambridge Analytica, which was a data analysis company, to perhaps to perhaps see if they can manipulate vote. What they had was that every intermediary, including Facebook, Google, whatsoever, shares some of your data to third parties. It won't be sensitive data, but it would be some kind of data. It could be anonymous. Then what Cambridge Analytica did that took this data. They also took the data from data breach or leaks, which they had found on dark web. I'll just give me a second. Um, yeah. So, what happened was that they had taken some data from Facebook, some other data they had bought out of dark web. They combined those data, they mashed the profiles of the people, and then there were three kinds of voters: one who would vote for Trump, one who would definitely not vote for Trump, and one who were neutral. So Trump had to focus on two people. First, keep sustaining the voters who are already voting for him. Second, target the neutral people. So these people started getting pushed a number of information which was about Trump, most of them being fake, most of them being how he can make America great again and how this would survive. And it actually started working so much so that they got caught. If they had not got caught, the amount of manipulation that can come out of misinformation and disinformation can actually change the future of a country and democracy. And because, Afnan, how much time do I have? You're on mute.
1 hour. Sir, it's up to you. It's
All right.
totally
So,
up to you.
what I'll do is I'll just take 2 more minutes and then I'll probably answer more things from taking the questions for the next 15 minutes, if that's all right.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, great. So, now you have to think of this from the lines that all these social media intermediaries have multiple million users, and there's a large diversity of misinformation that is being spread in regional language. So you have to understand that a lot of fake news gets spread in regional languages, and that has been the main mode of swaying away the mindset of the people. The case is, it's not a case, it was a scandal. It's called Cambridge Analytica. It's a very famous thing. If you Google about Trump's election, it will come definitely. So, and that has been the leading cause of cases for a number of things that we are working on. The misinformation, disinformation is something that we are seeing in a lot of communal violences. I majorly work on internet shutdowns and free speech violations, and we have seen that in an year more than 200, 300 people lose their life just because a fake news got out of hand and the situation got very, very worse. The loss is not just of lives, but if such situations prevail, there is medical services which are going down. There are internet services which are going down, education which is going down. The whole economy loses because of misinformation. So it's not just fake news which is affecting a single person or a single community. The resultant effect has a direct and negative impact on the economy. So there's this study from Top 10 VPN where they calculate the economic loss per country uh, for an year due to internet shutdowns. And for the year 2023, India suffered more economic loss due to internet shutdowns than we had taken loan from the World Bank. So if we had not gone for this, fallen for these misinformation, disinformation, and all these traps, and there were no violences or law and order situations, we would not have to take a loan from the World Bank. So imagine the impact of the whole misinformation and how your data is then being used against you. And now, coming to the question of fact checking and how you keeping your data safe. So, how you keeping your data safe? We have covered that. There's a small part of that remaining, which I'll come to in a moment after fact checking. So, there are independent fact checkers who are doing this. You have your alt news, Boom Live, Faculty, India Today, Quint, Webproof, all of those things, which you can rely on, obviously. But these things come after some time. By the time some media house fact checks things, there's a damage which has already been done. So, on a personal level, if you find an image or a video which is supposedly for a particular incident and that is being shared to you, what you can do, if it's a picture, you can Google reverse image search and upload that picture. In most of the cases, it will tell you when that picture was taken, what is the context of that picture, and how these things, and if it is actually related to what is being purported in the claim itself. If it's a video, you can take multiple screenshots from them, upload that again to the reverse image tool, and that will also uh, fact check it for you and make sure that whatever is being claimed is authentic enough. So all of it, whatever I have spoken in the near 1 hour of time, comes down to a person's individual steps to make sure that their data remains safe and they remain safe. Obviously, the government is there to regulate, the police is there to help. But in this particular thing, if we are not careful enough, no matter how many regulations the government comes up with, we they cannot help. And as I said, there is no cure in this. There's just precaution. And coming on the legislation, the fact check unit, which was created by the government, was struck down on it being ultra virus to the constitution. But there are certain regulations which are put forth in the intermediary rules of 2021 to the intermediaries, data fiduciaries, that is, to make sure that they are also not peddling fake content online to the users. It doesn't always work, but the government has been trying to get its work done to make sure that the impact of all these data breaches and misinformation does not become so dreary. But we have to keep in mind that it all of it needs a rapid response, and a rapid response can only come from the citizen, not from any institution. So that's one thing. Now, on the last thing that I had to speak on was the when I spoke about the password managers and what kind of password managers to trust. So, the number of times that I have shared the screen, you would see that uh, you would have seen that it's not your regular Google Chrome. It's not your regular OS even, and I'm relying on some other things which are not that famous. So for that, there are two kinds of. Yeah, Satish, just write your concern. I'll answer that. So there's just one thing on that. So yeah, so there are then two kinds of softwares. One is called one is called an open source software, and one is called proprietary software. A proprietary software is something which is developed by a company and is being used as a product. So the examples of that are your Microsoft Word, your Google Meet, uh, basically almost every software that you have heard of, uh, a Windows, etc., etc., etc. So these are proprietary software. That means there is a company involved. There are people who are being paid to develop it. There are people who are constantly on the go to make it better or keep making progress in that. And then there are open source softwares. Usually there are obviously companies involved making this, but open source software work on the basis that um, a person should have complete authority over the software. So, for instance, if I'm uh, taking this Google Meet as an example, and all of that is good, but you had all it gives you all the features, but you had to plug in a separate AI note taking tool. This is not something that is provided by Google. This is not, or it is provided by Google. If it is provided by Google, you have to pay extra for it. Now, the difference is if I were using a open source tool, I can write that code and add it to my own software. So an open source software will now give me the authority of having complete control. If I don't like something, I can change it. It gives the user control. Wherein that's not the case with a proprietary software. I cannot, at max, I can change the theme of Microsoft Word. If I want the cursor to be someplace else, if I want the whole fonts bar to be at a separate place, I cannot do that because I'm not allowed to do that. So if I'm not allowed to see how a particular app is working, how do I trust it? So in order to trust a software, in order to know which is the best for your password management, which is the best for internet banking, which is the best for uh, any particular use, you should be able to check what it is made of, what are the kind of information it is taking out, what are the kinds of information it is processing for you. And that those options are only available in free and open source softwares, which are called FOSS for in a short form. So um, for that reason, I have been using Linux. It's called GNU Linux. It's a very difficult name to pronounce again. As my OS operating system for my browser, I am using Firefox, which is again an open source software. The most famous open source software that you might have heard of is VLC Media Player because that's an open source software and almost half the people use it. So uh, and that's what one thing you will have to check every time you are concerned about your privacy. So there are multiple password managers available in the market. I prefer either KeepassXC. I'll type it out before anyone asks. Or Bitwarden. The reason I use this is because these both of these are open source softwares, and till date there is no reported breaches on these apps. So these are your password managers. The softwares that I am using, Privacy Badger, Ad Blocker, all of these things, uBlock Origin, all of these things, there are multiple options available, but I am using these particular ones because these are open source. So the whole idea about the whole question about which is safe, be it a browser or an app or whatsoever, an open source software is safe. It requires us to learn one thing, which is computer codes and understanding, at least understanding them. So if and then this question comes in again on how much do you want to balance the way between comfort and privacy. So if I want complete privacy, I being a lawyer who has had PCM, physics, chemistry, maths till 12th standard, I did not go that deep into computer science education. I can take that course and I can still learn how my app works. And this is something that I'd request everyone to do and to use as many open source apps as they can, and they come with a lot of benefit. I have traveled to half of India without internet while having access to map all the time. Just because I had a map called OpenStreetMap, which was completely downloadable and editable at any time. So makes things easier. I can watch YouTube uh, without ads. I can listen to music on Spotify without paying for it. So because these are open source app, they give you open source solutions, and these are free and open source app. Free does not mean monetary free, but free to access. But most of the times these are free monetary wise as well. So I'm saving a lot of money. Just saying. So we can use open source app. But yeah, coming to now your questions. The one concern regarding data localization, DPDP doesn't make mandatory for. Uh, so yeah, the data localization concern is something that was discussed quite a bit in the parliamentary sessions and then the public discussions after that as well. This is a big problem for the data fiduciaries on an economic level, on a monetary level, and for a large scale business to uh, complete data localization in every single country. If this happens, if this were to be followed, would be uh, affecting the business a lot. So that was the reason this was removed. But as we are hearing from the ministries now, and it is yet to be implemented. Obviously, the rules are yet to come up, but this is something that we are hearing from the ministries that they would implement partial data localization, which is in regard to the sensitive personal data regarding Indian citizens that has to stay within India itself. And the DPDPA along with the IT rules and IT Act, have uh, circumvented this problem by mandating that there is a grievance officer. There's a In India there's a physical office for all these intermediaries in India, so as to keep them within the legal jurisdiction of the country. And I think practically that's the most we can do at the moment, because we have to make sure that the business comes and goes as well while ensuring data security. I'm looking for other questions, but in the meantime, you can ask. In the past, censorship worked by blocking for information. Yeah.
Sir, may I interrupt if you allow?
Yeah. Please go ahead.
Sir, I agree with your viewpoint, and many of the scholars, even government personas, give this argument or logic that yes, or innovation, we have to balance it with them. But particularly, it become important in Indian context because we are using foreign website or apps for most of our sensitive work. So for Europe, see, they are at the beneficial in from both point of view. They have
Hmm.
their own apps in some contexts, and their GDPR even mandates it. And in our case, we are like facing difficulty from both sides. We don't have our indigenous mechanisms, and moreover, we are not making it mandatory to have data localization as a compulsory provision. So yeah, that is true that we have to balance the business. But if we see in a long term and larger context, like it could have been our one of the greatest asset, like data को हम monetize कर सकते हैं, but we are giving it freely to take it away.
Yeah, I completely understand your point, but hard regulations are not the answer, right? I mean, honestly, I 100% agree with you that there should be data localization, especially for the data which is being used by Indians at least. We can ensure that the data remains safe. But hard regulation, the first regulation being a hard regulation, is not the answer. GDPR also came after a number of revisions to keep this thing involved, to keep the data localization in place, and they had the infrastructural needs in place to have a backend support for all of these things. Our IRCTC website doesn't work. So, I mean, just to answer you, so we have to make sure that that works first before we say that we are into data localization, right? If they leave after this, we won't have any option. So we're there. And I can speak for a fact because I am in court alongside these companies. We are putting a lot of pressure on these companies. Half the time I'm standing alongside the councils for Twitter or Meta, and trust me, the government has put them in a very hard spot, and it's difficult for them uh, to.
Definitely, sir. For company, we can say it's tough, but from the victim point of view, as far I have understood, and
Hmm.
you may correct me if I'm wrong, like for a data breach or any kind of digital harm or significant harm that happens to a person, for that there is no separate fund pool for the compensation. Like what I have studied in IT Act, like whatever the compensation that is collected from the company, it's go to consolidated fund of India. I think I'm correct. So the rather it should be that there should be a separate fund in which this money should be allocated, and that money should have been used for compensating the victims. But currently, what I am observing that it's go to directly to the consolidated fund of India. So we are not victim oriented, like in that regard.
Yeah, Imran, the session is over. I'm just taking questions now. To answer your thing, she IT Act does not have this, and also class action lawsuit is not available in Indian tort mechanism. So this is something that we have not seen. This is something that will have to have a very broad jurisprudential evolution for India to have the class action lawsuits being in place where people can claim damages from conglomerates and even the government for the wrongdoings of these both of these institutions. But the one reason why it's not there is because the class action lawsuit is not there in India. It's not a legally recognized thing. And the second thing that you spoke about, there being any monetary compensation. Obviously, the IT Act did not have that, but the DPDPA has this, and I think the amount keeps fluctuating for different things. So for infrastructural needs, the amount is I think 250 crores for significant data fiduciaries. For failure to notify a data breach, it's around 200 crores, and the same is for mishandling of children's data. And all. We are making a progress, albeit a slow progress in this particular field where there are a number of things that we need to improve. But I think, I mean, I am all in for hard regulations, just not for this at the moment. I think I have to wait and see how it goes ahead. Anyone else?
Sir, one last question. Good evening, sir. As
Mhm.
we have faced lot of misinformation and disinformation during the Operation Sindoor also, sir, it was
Mhm.
really very hard for the citizen of India to just get to know the facts very clear. And outside India, people were just like saying that. According to the misinformation that India has attacked first and such things. So, on a national thing, what we can do so that as a nation we come together without any disinformation and misinformation. So we have the right facts of our nation, kind of thing.
You're asking me to solve a problem that we
Sir,
do not really have a solution for. But I think the best thing would be to not only rely on um, single sources of news. And when I say single sources of news, I do not mean um, just utilizing multiple media houses in India. What I mean to say is, if I am for a first very sensitive situation or of national security uh, of this nature, if I am going to the news sources, I will not only go to the national news sources but also the international news sources of multiple countries, maybe through VPN, and using all of that to then come up with a point. The one thing which we always have to do is to not get agitated by something emotional and then start ravaging about it. The idea is to be composed, which we showed greatly during this situation. So uh, I think, and this is not something that has to be implemented. This is something that everyone has to take up on their own individual level, where fact checking must come first, and fact checking on multiple level must come, especially on sensitive cases like this. Right. I hope I am. Um, anyone else? I think I've taken 20 minutes extra time. I should just shut up now. Precisely, Satish. Yeah. So anything has to be thought after, and only then an action has to be taken on.
Sir, I think no one have questions now. So I do not have any technical question now. If you allow, I would like to ask one career-oriented questions. Like you are already in this profession, so
Hmm.
a career-oriented question, if you allow. Like
Just one second. Sneha had asked any tools for safe banking. So I would say if you're relying on banking services, just use the tools, use the apps and applications and the websites which are made by the bank because they fall under the RBI mandate of 256-bit encryption and multiple layers of password protection. So even for instance, if you're using your ICICI Bank or Axis Bank or all of those things, even they are now compatible enough for making UPI payments. So rather than using PhonePe, Google Pay, or any third party app for your UPI, you can just use your bank app, because those apps completely fall under the RBI and they are regulated through that. And almost all the banking apps are open source. So that's the best solution, I think. Yeah, Satish, go ahead.
Mm. Sir, first of all, thank you for this wonderful session. You made us learn many useful tools and tricks to avoid digital footprints and to secure our account. Sir, my question is regarding apart from reading statutes, going through the case laws, what all we can do to master this cyber law or cyber security as a profession, if we say like now after BNS, we have to deal with digital evidences as well. So in that larger context, so for a non-technical background, though I am from science background, but still we are not well versed in technical skill. So apart from reading bare acts and what all we do in law course, what all we can do to master this.
I think the things that you're doing are fine. Reading barracks, going through international jurisdictions, all of that thing you're doing. The one thing that you can do is to start reading and following the people who are the expert of this field. So there are research papers that are published on multiple journals. There are universities that have specific research centers on law and tax. Oxford has it, LSE has it, Edinburgh has this. And they keep on publishing very, very good articles, very, very good papers on this. So I think keep increasing the scope of reading. I think that works the best. And whenever keep track of the policies as well. So whenever there is policy, they're open for consultations and they're open for public consultations as well. So whatever your thoughts are, you can actually contribute to better policies by answering to them, because these calls are public. Only a few days ago we had the online gaming bill, which was an open public consultation. So you can intervene, you can assess, you can assist in better policies, and that's how I think a better career wise it works the best. Yeah, I am on LinkedIn by
Thank you, sir. But with regard like technical skills, for example, we have to collect digital evidence.
Hmm.
Okay, so definitely a person who is from technical background, like
Hmm.
now some university have started integrated BTech LLB kind of
Hmm.
courses.
Hmm.
So with regard to collection of or preservation of digital evidences for chain of ensuring proper chain of custody for these all things, like we have to fill hash value in case of section 65B. There are multiple examples that we can give. So to get, because there is general saying what you don't understand you can't control. So थोड़ा उस कंटेक्स्ट में कि अगर हमें टेक्निकल स्किल्स, हमें एक नॉन टेक्निकल बैकग्राउंड स्टूडेंट को हॉर्न करने हैं, बढ़ाने हैं, तो उसके लिए हम क्या कर सकते हैं? लाइक जनरल तो सर्टिफिकेट कोर्सेज वो वर्चुअल होंगे जो रैंडम आते रहते हैं, या हमें कुछ स्पेसिफिक करना चाहिए? क्योंकि डाउन द लाइन 10 ईयर अगर देखें तो इनका रिलेवेंस बढ़ेगा.
You can do that obviously if there are courses available. If there is any one, uh, just 1 second. Which court is having the jurisdiction to try these privacy breach related cases at initial level? Um, First is the platform itself. Second is the grievance officer. Third is the grievance appellate committee, and then you can go to the high court of the relevant jurisdiction where they are registered. And yeah, for your thing, if you have courses, if you have all of these things, you can definitely take that. But On a personal level, yeah, certain as well, yes. So on a personal level, I think working with lawyers has helped me the best. I did not get much, or I'll tell you honestly, I was not in law school as much as I was in internship. So I think that answers a lot. Yeah, certain has a dedicated number as well, which Imran has just pointed out. So that's also there.
Sir, if your time allows, can we take more questions?
I have to take a call at 7:30. I have a matter pending tomorrow, so I'll have to excuse
So,
myself.
as we come to the close of this session, one thing is clear: data is the new asset, security is the new necessity, and trust is the new currency of the digital world. Thank you so much, sir, for such an incredible, informative, and eye opening session. Now, we'd like to open the floor for the question and answer session. That is done. And now we would like to thank you, sir. As we draw the curtains to today's session, it's time to pause and extend our deepest gratitude. First, a sincere thank you to our guest speaker, Mr. Syed Mohammed Haroon, sir, for delivering such an eye opening and thought provoking session on your thoughts on data theft, cloud security, and fact checking have not only enlightened us, but also inspired us to think more deeply about the importance of cybersecurity and digital trust in our everyday lives. Next, I want to extend my special thanks to our collaborator, Allure India Foundation, Ms. Simran Sharma ma'am, Isha Malik, who graciously accepted our invitation and joined us for this webinar. Next, I want to thank every single participant who joined us today. Whether you are a student, a professional, or someone simply curious to learn, your presence here matters. Sessions like these aren't just events on a calendar. They are a reminder that knowledge is our first line of defense. And when we come together like this, we are not just learning, we are building something stronger, a more aware, more resilient society. Before we officially close, a quick reminder: please take a moment to fill out the form. It's mandatory, but more than that, your feedback helps us shape better sessions going forward. Once again, thank you all for being with us today. Let's carry forward what we have learned, share it with others, and stay alert in the world that's changing faster than ever. Take care, stay safe, and we'll see you in the next session.
Thank you, everyone, and thank you for organizing this. Bye.